world they're doing that. In America, fluoride in the water, good for teeth. Crap! In Toronto, there's a guy called Lineback who was one of the greatest supporters of fluoride in the water. He's the head of dentistry at Toronto University. He's come out now and said, for God's sake, don't have it, don't have it. And as he was saying, they've had it in the water for years, decades in Toronto. They don't have it in the water in Vancouver. There are fewer cavities by a mile per head of population in Vancouver than there are in Toronto. Hey, it's good for teeth. Hey, wait, let's see what it's really about. Do you know when fluoride was first put in drinking water? In the Nazi concentration camp, through mass medication of drinking water supplies. By this method, they could control the population in whole areas, reduce population by water medication that would induce sterility in women, and so on. In this scheme of mass control, sodium fluoride occupied a prominent place. That's what it's about. Vaccinations, same.
But Dr. John Olney, who has been studying aspartame's effects on the brain for more than 20 years, disagrees. He is a neuroscientist at Washington University School of Medicine. His new study analyzes U.S. brain cancer data in the years before and since aspartame's approval.
There's been a striking increase in the incidence of malignant brain tumors.
Dr. Olney does not say flat out that aspartame is responsible for the rise in brain tumors, but he does believe that his analysis of the data shows that it's the most likely suspect.
200 times more sweet than sugar, and it is lethal stuff. They actually tell American Air Force pilots not to drink soft drinks because it affects their ability to fly. Why? Because of the aspartame in it. It's now more and more in foods of all kinds. And they even have aspartame disease. It is a mind suppressant among many other things. Hey, who was the man who brought aspartame to the world by manipulating the authorities in America by putting people who supported him and his aspartame policies in positions of power to make that decision and removing those that would not? Oh, aspartame man. Donald Rumsfeld, who was put into sell pharmaceuticals in America using his contacts in the Reagan-Bush administration to get aspartame permission to be used in food against all the independent data.
We're developing a society because of all of these different toxins known to affect brain function. We're seeing a society that not only has a lot more people of lower IQ and very few people of very high IQ who have good cognitive function who can figure this all out. And that's what they want. So, you know, you can kind of piece it together as to why they are so insistent in spending so many hundreds of millions of dollars of propaganda money to dumb down society.
Name a country that begins with U.
Yugoslavia?
With U, Utah.
A country that starts with a U.
Utopia.
What's the religion of Israel?
Israeli.
Muslim. Islamic. Catholic, probably.
What religion are Buddhist monks?
Buddhist monks.
Buddhist monk.
Islamic, I don't know.
Who won the Vietnam War?
We did.
And who was...
Wait, were we even in the Vietnam War? Okay, good.
Who is Fidel Castro?
A singer.
How many sides does a triangle have?
Damn, 4.
There's no sides. 1.
What is the currency used in the United Kingdom?
What's the currency in the United Kingdom?
What is it? In the United Kingdom, I don't know.
Possibly American money.
Queen Elizabeth's money? That's all I know.
Name a country that begins with U.
A country?
Yeah. What about this one?
What?
The United States of America.
On June 2nd, 1988, the Los Angeles Times published an article refuting the idea that the human AIDS virus originated from green monkeys. It uncovered evidence that the DNA composition of AIDS was totally inconsistent with that of green monkeys. In fact, it could be proven that the AIDS virus could not be found anywhere in nature and could only have ever survived in the human biological system. If the virus did not exist anywhere in nature, the question is raised as to where exactly the virus all of a sudden stemmed from. On July the 4th, 1984, the New Delhi newspaper in India called The Patriot published an article making the first detailed charges of AIDS as being a counter-biological warfare agent. An anonymous American anthropologist was quoted claiming that AIDS was genetically engineered at the US Army's Biological Warfare Laboratory at Fort Detrick near Frederick, Maryland. Then on October the 30th, 1985, the Soviet journal Literaturная Gazeta repeated the charges made by the Indian newspaper, making it an international controversy. All this, however, was easily passed off as a communist rhetoric by the Masonic West. However, on October the 26th, 1986, the Sunday Express became the first Western newspaper to run a front-page story confirming the findings of the Indian and Soviet newspapers entitled AIDS Made in Lab Shop. The outbreak of AIDS has been linked to vaccine programs around the world. The internationally respected London Times newspaper published an article at the front-page story on May the 11th, 1987 entitled Smallpox Vaccine Triggered AIDS. The article establishes a direct correlation between the smallpox vaccine administered by the World Health Organization to an estimated 50 to 70 million people in different Central African countries and the subsequent outbreaks of AIDS in those regions. The World Health Organization is the medical wing of the United Nations. The evidence suggests that AIDS is a genetically engineered virus spread through vaccination programs in third world countries, germ warfare against the innocent and the weak, aimed at eliminating an entire populace off the face of the earth.
And that is their goal, to limit the size of the population on Earth and to microchip those that are there. The reality is that the world does not have to be this way at all. It does not have to be heading in the direction that it is heading. People do not have to live in a never-ending sea of self-generating debt. Wars do not have to be fought, and children do not have to starve. And don't think people starve because the world is overpopulated. Don't believe what the television tells you. The world isn't overpopulated at all. In fact, let's look at it realistically with a simple comparison of population versus land mass, and we can do a rough estimate and formulate a quick hypothetical to demonstrate this very easily. There are approximately 6 billion people in the world, and there is 2.97 million square miles of land in the island continent of Australia. 2.97 million square miles breaks down to 1,900,800,000 acres, which then converts down to 7,603,200,000 quarter-acre blocks of land. So, we could hypothetically give every person in the world a quarter-acre block of land, and they would all fit into an area the size of Australia. Each would have enough land that they could all have gardens and grow a substantial supply of their own food, and we would still have half of Queensland and the entire rest of the planet left unoccupied. And now that all the resources have been discovered and there are no frontiers left to conquer, the criminal elite intend to carry out a mass depopulation of this world, and their plan to do this is well underway. They are doing it in the Middle East with war, in countries such as Africa through starvation, and now in Western countries through water additives, aerial spraying, and through the introduction of toxic and nutrient-deficient genetically modified foods. These politicians need to seriously think about what they are doing. They need to realize that these money cartels don't care about them or their families. These politicians have children and grandchildren who are also going to have to live in this world that is being created. And don't kid yourself that there's a politician in a position of power somewhere who isn't a puppet. All are puppets of the money cartels without exception. These people may well have been voted into power, but the voting process is simply theatre for the masses to promote the illusion of people's choice. The people may vote for one particular candidate over another, but they do not get to actually decide who these candidates will be to begin with. The people of the world need to realize their own potential and wake up from the dream that they are living in. Forget what you were told and trained to do by the TV, because it's a lie. TV is there to train people what to think and how to act. End of